Hello, welcome everybody to Organic Politics, and it's my great pleasure today to have two people in the studio with whom you will be learning. I am learning about so much on the street type of information and wisdom, and I could sit here and listen to them all day because they have what we need to know. And their names are Kathleen Sims, whom you know from our work here on Organic Politics, and David PLatt. And today we're going to talk about the heroin problems, and of course that leads to a lot of other topics. And essentially I'm going to let them roll because they have a lot of material that I believe the community should know about and should hear. So let me begin with a question about to David. David, would you introduce yourself to our listeners and watchers and sort of give them a framework of who you are? And
David PLatt, a resident of Vernon, Vermont, 50 years old, so I'm in that middle class there. I'm an ex-felon myself, and I have constant medical problems that give me pain that I use opioids for, so I'm acutely aware of what the governor was talking about with the range of friends that I have that go to pain clinics and are on similar pain medications, and how easy it is for them to be caught in the trap with no other therapy and escalate using those medications until finally there's nothing else for them to use except an illegal opioid or heroin on the street. And it's become like going into a pharmacy on the corner of the street and just buying it, the way it's all over the streets and all over the roads in the towns here in southern Vermont.
Now, what are you talking about specifically? I mean, I'm a person who doesn't use anything, and I really don't have much connection.
Well, the use of pills, the use of pain-killing medication of all kinds, and everything from
Oxycontins to junk itself.
So where does the Oxycontin, is a prescription drug that somebody else gets and then sells some?
It seems like there's an open market for it when it comes to the either them getting prescriptions for them or them coming into the state illegally. I mean, you hear stories, you always do, and especially if you live so close to the street level and some of the street people that you know. I live on disability, so I'm continually aware of people that are stuck in that position. A couple of my friends are disabled, long-term HIV patients, and you run into the people that have these addictions or have become susceptible to these addictions all the time.
And I know a few people who have the addictions but can't get a medical marijuana card, and so they'll trade their prescription medications to supplement their marijuana use, which is $350 to $480 an ounce. And that street difference is, you know, some of the pills go for $80 a piece. That's my understanding.
Yeah, they can charge up to $5 a milligram.
And this is for Oxycontin?
Oxycodone, depends. It depends what's out on the market. It seems like it's a wholesale shopping market out there.
I started asking people, do you mind if I ask you what you're on? Because the eyes would be down like this a little bit. It was a face I didn't recognize. And I found it to be the Oxycontin is what I'm looking at a lot.
Yeah.
So what about discontinuing dispensing it as a prescription drug?
I think instead of just only looking at just that, it's several different arms. I mean, you've got a really depressed population. and when the more depressed and disassociated people are, and the more economically challenged they are, the more you're going to find they'd rather be out of reality. And alcohol was the last generation's buzz, the last generation's way of getting out of things. This generation is growing up with parents that had a medicine cabinet full of these pills, and grandparents that did.
And then the LSD and
so
all that stuff.
It's very easy for them to say no to certain things like psychedelics and stuff, but pills, everybody has pills, so they think they're just normal to take, and that would account for a lot of the new wave of of people you've had committing suicide accidentally and overdosing because they just don't understand how strong this stuff is they're screwing around with. And somebody says, hey, it's a lot cheaper to buy this little teeny bag of white powder.
That's
And
right.
you don't have
Over
to use a
these
needle.
That's right.
They'll teach you how to use it or tell you how to do it right in the street.
That's right.
I've
And it's
to-
like $2 to $10 will get you high all day on heroin is what I know. And you can't compete with that with those other costs of those other drugs unless you...
Yeah, and you can't argue with your friends that you catch doing it because all of a sudden, what argument do you have? They say, you take pain medication the doctor gives you. My doctor won't give me pain medication, so I have no choice. I have no insurance. I have no way to pay for treatment. And so back to it they go. And they don't even care. They end up giving up families, relationships. A lot of the guys I know have kids. They cry over them all the time when they're coming down from their buzz. But
They can't find them.
No, they can't find them or get to them. Yeah.
So the governor has decided to make heroin addiction and addictions something that he...
Opiate addictions.
Opiate addiction, something that he wants to remedy through certain programs.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on his proposals? And I heard you saying earlier that...
Well, let's start with the positive. The positive is the new opiate prescription contracts that you sign with your doctors. I have one with my doctor for my medication. And they guarantee that they can check up on your medication, follow you, watch you, and monitor you. And the first thing would be to get control of your prescription policies so that you can limit the access to the legal ones that they're getting, that they're taking out of pharmacies. And it'll lower what we pay for Medicaid by cutting out fraud. It'll lower misuse by cutting back on patients who don't need the medication or are abusing it. The registration's a good thing. But the bad thing about it is the treatment centers only work in one or two ways from what I've seen. You know, I mean, the Phoenix houses, the other places up here, they even admit to the fact that they have a really high rate of reoccurrence.
They're holdover shelves. Yeah. They're temporary holdovers.
So and they clean them out, they detox.
That's right. So your body doesn't have it in it, so you have a chance of maybe having a different kind of thought. But without a place to go into society, the depression is going to come right back at you.
Yeah.
And what is your answer to not being able to afford to do these various things besides go on a chemical holiday?
Right. So that's where I see the Perma-Farm policy and the mentorships and also in exchange for tax credits. You know,
but real mentorships, not some unit that you go to that you've waited 3 weeks to get in the program, so you've already relapsed twice, and you get in the program, and all of a sudden you've got a bunch of very hostile ex-users that are taking and directing a lot of their anger and stuff back towards the new members of the group that came in. I mean, it's not a good place to have them feeding off each other.
So what kind of solutions do you...
A smaller one-on-one approach. I mean,
how do we find those? How do we do this?
You invent these things. You invent these things. You get your neighbors that say that they want to help. You get people in the health profession that are willing to volunteer. You get people that are willing to train people to be these kind of mentors. The ones that never used it before, that can give a perspective from somebody who never used them, and then somebody who's used them and recovered, so that they can see how much they lost. If they can see how much you can get by not going back to that route to begin with.
There's such a sense of hopelessness.
Yeah, really.
When I was a junkie 18 years ago, oh my God, I can barely remember it. I'm very grateful for that. But there was such a sense of hopelessness that went with it. And I wasn't good at it. I was scared of needles and just a lot of things. But I was so depressed, and it did temporarily take it away from me. And then trying to get out of it was one of the hardest coffins I believe I've ever climbed out of. You know, but it did plant seeds in the various drug treatment places that I went, because I went to 6 before I finally got it. And I was the hope to die junkie that wasn't going to make it. I have a felony record. You got to write down, have you ever been arrested when you get a job, and you have to say yes, and it doesn't matter if you're guilty, did the time, or whatever. It's just, you know, they're not going to look at you. So there's no work, there's no home, and this circle is what leads to the recidivism that happens in the prison systems.
You know?
Or the relapse is also addiction.
That's right, which puts you right back into the hopelessness of the drug itself.
So what do we need for hope? What do we need?
You need people to give you some home.
Is it money? You're saying giving money, or what does hope look like?
Money.
Oh, no, it's people.
It's people.
It's people.
It's
not,
people. It's giving
not
yourself.
money. You can give $62 million to a problem and get a really nice report that tells you which way
Yeah.
you should be going, but that's not going to make you go in that direction.
You
And
do
that's your
need a
concern.
place to do
Yeah,
it.
you can't make that many people fit into these small, narrow little definitions and quarters. You never could. That's why we can't get 90 or 100% of our people graduated from high school. It's why we can't get 90% to 100 people want to work or enjoy their job. It's why 80% of the people can't get out of bed in the morning and just be thankful for having a roof over their head. Is because we all are like taught to want more. And this is supposed to happen for us. Everybody's supposed to give it to us. We want everything tomorrow. You know? And the new kids are growing up even worse because they're so connected to everything so quick with technology. Just think of it. They can find out where the party is, where the pills are, where the stuff is, faster than anybody could ever think about. The state troopers aren't going to stop it on the highway, or the deputies are going to stop it in the towns. If the kids can flash over a network and meet somebody real quick and do a handoff in public, it becomes really easy. These kids are quick. They're smarter than anybody gives them credit for. But they don't have an ounce of fear. They speed around in cars, they take fast drugs, they live fast lifestyles.
And the high schools are having trouble. I understand that in Rutland they were having troubles with crack being smoked in the bathrooms. And, you know, the kids are bringing the drugs from mom and dad straight into, it's trickling down to younger and younger.
Yeah, one way or the other. Because I know a couple of generational drug addicts where the parent and the kid and then the grandkid. I know a couple of generational ones like that. I've always found it amazing that they can still operate, but the grandparent in the bunch is responsible, this and that, pays his bills, and so he lives on the surface like anybody else would think, you know, normal middle-class citizen, family wife, but nobody really knows that they have that dark secret that runs straight through to their kids and grandchildren.
You know what's very interesting is when we look at the financial empire and the issues of the type of personalities who are essentially addicted to money, they are also addicted. We're finding that they're addicted to sex, perversions, and all these drugs as well. And they're walking around in suits, often as politicians. So
stockbrokers.
Right. You know, CEOs
Leaders.
of banks. So it's almost as if the same addictions that are happening with the people who are heartlessly robbing and raping the planet and developing the economic war are the same addictions that are being reflected in the poor.
Corporate America, I mean, from the governor down to the lowest dishwasher that I knew at Mount Snow or any other jobs that I cooked at or worked at, there's just one thing the poor understand that the rich don't. We're all absolutely, positively the same. We all have the same addictions, compulsions, desires, wants, needs. And you know, the human condition, you can never tell what somebody is going to be like from the way they look, the way they act, the way they speak. You have to take it for granted on your own powers of assessment and judgment. And they're not always right.
So if the ethnic profiling that goes on,
I don't know. I hope they don't profile us.
Well, let's talk about what happens as an ex-felon, as somebody who has been pretty much associated with drug use. What is it like being in the community? Is it? Tell us about that.
you're not accepted in either community, I don't think, for myself. One doesn't trust me because I'm hanging out with people who never have and never will. Okay? And the other side doesn't really trust me because once a junkie, always a junkie, because they're limited by their limited views of whoever they've been put in front of. Because each person is an individual case.
When was the last time you were arrested?
Oh, Jesus. 1983.
I often hear you having a lot of nervousness around all of our police force.
So there's a residue that is left, and you don't have to be guilty of anything. Once you have been incarcerated, had your teeth in the dirt, and had machine guns and guns at your head at various stages in this incarceration trip that I did,
Everything.
That justifiable fear is innate. I can do nothing about it. It's like a dog that's been kicked. You come up at it with a foot and it's going to quiver if it's been kicked good. I quiver. I ain't guilty, but they might make me swerve or speed up. I don't know, because it's involuntary. You know?
How many psychiatrists? I've gone through 4
Psychiatrists.
psychiatrists, 8 psychologists,
To get over
3
just that feeling.
psychotherapists, and I've made changes in my entire life since coming home 23 years ago, and changed almost everything about myself, but cannot stop the triggers from that bothering me.
So you have an experience, David, about with the prison system?
Yeah, and I still go to therapy for constant problems with it, from nightmares to flashbacks to
What
stress and anxiety.
What are you comfortable sharing with
well, I go to treatment. I think when the governor hit on a lot of things. I mean, these drug addictions are a lot like any other kind of mental disturbance you have that you can't control. I mean, I watch these people. They're willing to throw away their rent, their houses, their kids. I mean, that's as severe as an addiction and problem with their mind and the way they think about things as my paralyzing anxiety and depression and post-traumatic shock is. I mean, when I lock myself up in my house for days at a time or weeks at a time.
And why would you lock yourself up in your house?
Because I'm paranoid, or I don't trust people, or something's
right.
happened to me that made me feel paranoid over my safety. Or
Right.
And can you call the police if you're feeling
I
unsafe?
would never call
No.
the police. As a last resort. I mean, if I called the police, it'd be report an accident with my car or this and that, or something menial where I knew there'd be other people out in the public maybe around me, or I'd feel kind of safe. But other than that, I mean, if I didn't have to, and the very last thing I would ever do was call a police officer for help.
Have you felt like you've been
I've done
framed?
it.
Excuse me?
Have you ever been framed?
That's something that could very easily just push me right over the edge if I bothered to think about it. I mean, that kind of paranoia gripped me for years right after I came home.
I wanted to, excuse
go
me.
ahead.
I wanted to say something about like the conditioning with the police department. I've had an unconditioning also, as through the years, you know, I've had some situations to where the police actually saved my life, where they were actually there and did protect and serve me, and gave me room to wiggle, and so it's been.
Yeah, but it doesn't make it go away.
It does not.
I've had good encounters with a very few good encounters with them, but I've had even more negativity for no reason, and so all it's done is inflamed the memories that I have and the things that I went through. I mean, I was held in such a way in isolation that because of my HIV status that I doubt today they'd put up with it in certain courts.
When I was there, they put red bands on the HIV people.
No, they didn't, because I was the only one here.
I was in Oregon,
Yeah.
and they were red band.
Wow. See, I don't take hardly any drugs. Let's talk about the dispensary.
Yeah.
Issues with the new dispensary.
I don't know, they were bragging about it in the Brattleboro Reformer this morning, but I'm a card holder.
I'm a card holder. I don't think that they're
going in the right direction with these dispensaries.
Why so?
Because it wasn't supposed to be meant about a corporate structure and a nonprofit and boards and foundations, and it was supposed to be meant as a medication, and really strictly as a medication to help us. I mean, I wouldn't have the weight and muscle tone I have if I didn't have my marijuana card. I didn't have the ability to cut back on pain medication and certain things until I got my medical marijuana card. I can go to bed at night without my hands shaking and trembling when I try to hold them out totally straight. I haven't been smoking because I've been driving, but I shake. And if I do that, almost instantly it starts to stop the shaking and tremoring in my hand from the neurological damage that I have to my spine and my neck, my spinal cord. And so my stenosis, it makes the pain more bearable for the stenosis in my back.
So
Plus it kills my nauseousness so I can eat from my HIV medications. And so, I mean, it does 4 different things for me. It helps relax my muscles so I don't have to take more muscle relaxants and stuff like that.
But the store, getting back to why the store is not working, it's like I got a letter like you did, telling us it was coming, what was going to be offered as far as, you know, what seeds and plants and
then the bad news.
And then the bad news is, since I'm a grower,
That's right.
I'm not allowed to purchase any of their harvest.
If I grow
or
my
I
own
lose
marijuana,
my grower status.
You lose our grower status.
And
Why?
like, I've not been a good grower.
Because I guess they don't understand that a crop doesn't come in all year long in Vermont.
That's right, and you've got to be good at it, and I'm not that good at it. And
I'm not either. I know it's a weed.
And my partner that helps me is 78 years old, and we're both muddling through it.
See, there's so many different strains that they don't understand that the dispensary is going to sell these high-grade strains and these little designer things that all these kids want and everything. All right, but how do you keep a cap on something when you open the bottle and the bottle is this big and the cap's only this big? You don't know. When we dry our plants, Kathleen, you lose a third to a half of your yield because of drying, right?
At least a half.
Now, how's the state ever going to measure it to make sure these dispensaries are not abusing the privilege? I mean, this right is a right that I waited so long to have that it helped me so immensely when it became law, that the thought of seeing it abused by a dispensary and then us losing it just terrifies me.
Okay, so what would
if
be
I
better?
go in there,
It would be better if they delivered to the pharmacies and gave it to us like it was our prescription in a
if it
bottle.
was a
we bought.
medicine,
And it was measured
and we-
out like a medicine and graded like a medicine.
Okay, where's it going to be grown?
Can't the state and UVM experiment with it at our colleges and do it for us? Couldn't these people get a set fee from the state for a Medicare disbursement to be able to grow it for us? Couldn't we take the money out of it? They're talking about making the town of Brattleboro legal drug dealers selling marijuana
for
at the
street
same
cost,
price as the drug dealer that comes to my house and brings me my marijuana when my plants won't grow in the winter. I feel like a criminal. Every month I have to buy my marijuana because I can't go someplace that's sanctioned to buy it, and then I'm a paranoid case over.
but you're getting it from other people who are growing it also and have a license, and you can't afford the lights.
Not
and
always, because the-
4 plants is all that's allowed.
Yeah.
One in one stage, one in another, and like for me, I had mites killed everything. Like I said,
you
I've
get a
not been
fungus.
good at this thing.
You lose 3 months worth of productivity if you get a little fungus or a little draft of
And
this
then
and
I
that.
got
then you can't
mold,
buy.
lost everything
And
after I
plus both
thought I
of us
had it.
we're on disability, so we can't afford the real expensive lights that some drug dealers buy because they're going to jack the prices up to the street dealers. We can't afford the ones that these big dispensaries can, so we don't have closed systems. We can't compete. But it's not the worst part. The worst part is, even if we wanted to, even if we said, we don't want to grow, it's too much work, and I don't want to do something holistic for myself and know exactly what's in my marijuana.
That's
I want
right.
to get chemicals from this guy.
And I'd like to put it in the sun.
Yeah.
You cannot do it.
Can't put it in your yard or anything.
You can't put it in natural sunlight. You
So
can't.
are they regulating it to a place
No,
that it's...
no.
Yes, they are.
Is there
We're
over-regulation?
regulated. You have to show a grow room. You
Yeah,
have
yeah,
to
we
get
just-
Are
a map, the police
they
department.
over-regulating it to
over-regulating.
remove the benefits?
No,
of
I
that?
think it's progressing towards a stage where they're going to take away our right to grow our own free.
That's
I mean,
right, and
we
then
can't
it's
afford it on
Monsanto.
disability. I can't say to myself, I'm not going to pay my home bills or my taxes or get oil or electricity just
Because I'm
because I
gonna
have to
buy a
buy
bag of
marijuana.
weed.
So what happens is my joints go back to the way they were. My muscles go back to the way they were, where I lean over like this and walk like this all the time because I can't sit upright. I have a cane in my trunk I have to use when my back
I
slips.
keep one too.
Yeah, and I remember when you got your medical marijuana card. Before that, Kathleen and I have known each other for a number of years, and I remember being so concerned about the pain from, 23 bones broken. I mean, there were days where I was worried about losing you. And then after you got your
It's
your
amazing
medical
what it
marijuana license, it's like you could live.
Yeah.
You could be like 20 times more productive. You could
And I
teach
make-
other people.
I make stuff with mine. I don't ingest mine just smoking and vaping. I make tinctures and salves for my arthritis and try to do the medicine for my black lung.
Yeah, you
I
can
try to do other things with it.
So what's the right
my
way?
skin cancer.
Is the right way not to have any regulation? Are you
Oh, no,
concerned
more-
about
more
young
regulation.
people?
No, I'm very concerned. That's why I don't think the dispensaries are going to work out like that, in my mind anyways.
To me, it's like it's just, the government has already come in and shown California with its spanking.
Yep. And there's 3 people in the state
and-
that are going to own all the rights to distribute
That's
it and
right.
grow. This one man has 2 dispensaries. He's already put out this big statement on how he's going to be, so he's so sympathetic to us. Then why did he send me a letter telling me he's going to raise the prices right away to match the street prices
That's
here in
right.
Brattleboro?
That's
How
right.
does he even know the street prices here in Brattleboro?
Unless he's part of the
Unless
street
he's
price.
part of these
Who's
people.
able to do these things?
Yes. Who's able to get these
I
licenses?
think growing local
Yep.
keeps the arms race back and the opiated weeds that's coming in.
Yep.
This is my thing. If I run out, I'm scared to death to need something off the street. Because I know of all the stuff they spray it with Raid.
Yeah, you never know what's in it.
You do not know what's in it. They spray it with things to make it grow fast and
or make it smell better. When it's a really low quality marijuana, sometimes they'll soak it in certain chemicals or herbs to make it smell like the real high quality weed.
When
that
I'm
they
not
make
trying to get
$100
high,
for.
I'm trying to get hungry and my pain to leave me.
That's right. And my tremors to stop in my hands.
You know, I'm not wanting to check out.
Yeah.
You know,
And
Boy,
not
it
only that,
feels
but-
like there's such a war on
Well, I mean, it
people.
beats
It
taking a
is.
benzo when the doctor, when you're a nervous wrecker, your mind won't calm down and you can't stop and your mind's raging. And you take simple things like a benzo, like a 5 milligram Valium, but I mean, what is better for you? I mean, a half of a joint or a couple hits off of that does the same thing to me. I don't get a paranoia syndrome like some people do from marijuana. I think that's terrible, but it does help relax me to a point where I don't need anti-anxieties a lot of the time. Or I don't take sleeping pills at all anymore. I mean, period. I haven't refilled them since last January, a year ago last January.
Are you concerned about, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds smoking marijuana?
I don't think they should touch it.
it's just like alcohol for 15, 16-year-olds. We're concerned with the pills for 15 and too much adult video for 15. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, but if you want to limit it to just the marijuana bit, I think it'll limit their growth potential when it comes to learning and everything else. Also, I think
mind is not
I really
developed.
don't think it's all developed at that age. I remember what I was like at that age.
The mind is not developed. The brain does not completely develop until it's 20s, somewhere in the mid-20s, I heard.
I didn't try marijuana until I was 17, going on 18 years old, and then didn't smoke steadily until I was about 19, 20. But off and on.
Well, I'm not getting a clear answer from you about whether we should remove regulation and leave it up to the community.
No, heavier regulation.
Heavier regulation.
I think that they should be
But
so
you're
tight
also
on those
saying-
grow places.
but
that-
without the restrictions of where's the loophole for this person here that can't grow?
Yeah.
How come my doctor can't have something at the store and me go to the pharmacy where I would have picked up the Oxycontins I could trade on the street for something?
Yeah.
Why can't I go to the pharmacy
And get the marijuana instead.
and get it there?
Where
when
does
I
it come
can't?
from to the pharmacy?
Well,
Yeah.
that's when you would have your college people studying it, like, I know.
You'd have all kinds of information if it went through the pharmacies. Plus, you'd have the
Go
protection
to
of the pharmacy.
Portland, Oregon. Portland State University in Oregon has been studying it and growing it there since the 80s.
So you would have the
Go to their
universities
studies.
growing it for our pharmacies so that they be testing it for, so we have
So you have it for the glaucoma. You have it for the because it's like wines.
Yeah.
This wine.
But
for
it would
that,
give you working
this for that.
stats, too, of how it was performing, how much you needed to perform. I mean, at the
Right.
beginning, they willy-nilly said 2 ounces a month and said, I don't need 2 ounces a month. I find that I can get by on a quarter ounce a week and sometimes a little bit less. And sometimes in bad pain months, like in the summer, if I try to do some yard work, I have really bad cramps. And sometimes in the summer, it's more. And so it fluctuates. It's never that 2 ounces they put that cap on.
Yeah,
It's
but
never-
I, on the other side,
Yeah.
make a tincture that I used to take for anxieties to go to bed with under my tongue.
Yeah.
And I put a pound.
Yeah, but you
into
make it
this.
like a gallon of it.
And
Yeah.
I cooked it down. It took 18 months to make.
Yeah.
But where would I be able to do that unless I had the grower thing so I could utilize the leaf?
Yeah, because you can't. It
The
takes time to
stuff
make
that
these
the-
products. So you've
that
used
they're
your whole month's
throwing
supply.
out.
Do you think it's a gateway drug to these other opiates?
No.
I don't know. I've had access to these opiates and things for quite a while through my doctors because of my pain in my back, and it hasn't caused me to want to go there. But I'm a obsessive compulsive, so I'm a kind of control freak about what I put in my body. Other people that are susceptible to it, I've watched everybody fall. I've watched some of my most staunch friends who are not into any of the drugs and alcohol fall just after trying opiates for a short period of time.
And they're instantly there.
Hurting a leg, going in the hospital for bad surgery or something. And then, they usually step you right off them. I've watched some of the most responsible people I know that are professionals get hooked like that after their first 1 or 2 bottles of them. I think the doctors need to be vigilant and looking for other ways and cutting them back sooner after surgeries and really trying alternative methods. I have a massage chair in my house to do help with my back and things. All of them less than the amount I take, but I haven't been able to positively eliminate all of them, if you know what I mean. I'm still on a therapy of them, and I don't know for myself if I'll ever be able to get them all the way out, but some people could benefit from the massages, the hot tubs,
Oh, God, yeah.
hydrotherapy. There's a lot of things you can do for pain, and you can help people with pain, and once they feel better, a lot of times they don't want the opiates when they feel better.
right.
It empowers you to feel like you're clean and off of those things. Once you are off of them. But you can't feel like everybody's going to say, oh, you're just going to go back to it. You're just going to relapse again.
So maybe for the solution for the people that would like some help off the drugs and stuff is to have exercise programs and the YMCAs and stuff open their arms and doors to people doing exercising instead of a building with other people who are addicted and telling war stories. Maybe it's an environment that has no conversation around it, but just a life. I think that's the missing link.
So can we carry on this conversation for another half an hour? Do we have more to talk about the solutions, or would you like to wrap it up? It's what's inside you.
What do you got?
You got, Kathleen, have we covered it all? Have we been around the bases?
I think we went around the room.
Yeah, we'll both agree. I think we need a combination of incarceration for violent people, but treatment for everyone else right at the initial level. But also, they got to remember something. It's how compassionate you are when the people come back out too. Everybody needs, you know, a little push up when it comes to their behavior. When they change it, they've got to have acknowledgement. If you say, you know, you still have so far to go and everything.
That's the long way out we were talking about.
Yeah.
It's a long way out. Even though you're out of it, even though I'm not in those drugs, I'm not in the system, it's a residue. It's a long way, because my mind has to be reparented now.
Yeah, you can change your clothes, you can't change your mind that easily.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What an interesting conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
thank you for joining us, everybody. Come back again to our next segment of Organic Politics. Bye-bye for now.
Do 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 da do 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 da do do do.